So hey, welcome back to our podcast, A Year of Magical Learning. Today we have book 42, The Hidden Life of Trees, right, Chris?
Yeah, looking forward to it. And we were just saying this is the first four person group discussion we've had thus far. So we're joined by Snow and Blake today as well. So yeah, this will be a fun one. But just at a high level, anybody read this book? I know
I have not.
I know Snow, you said you have. True, Blake?
No.
Okay, good. So this will be a fun one. So this book, like, for me, is one of those like weird books that kind of came out of nowhere. Actually, I don't know who recommended this to me, but I'm really glad they did, because I've been super into the connectivity of the world these days, of how everything all blends together, and everything is it's like the circle of life kind of thing. Everybody has a role to play, and for whatever reason, trees is something I've never even thought to even consider as having like a huge role to play in this world, other than they produce some seeds and grow whatever. Anyway, so long story short, this book is about this guy named Peter Wohlleben. How do you pronounce his name? Wohlleben. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
However you want to say it, doesn't matter. It won't matter to us.
Yes.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. So this guy named Peter, we'll just go with that. He's like a forest management person in Germany, and he like spends all of his time out in the forest with these trees. So he like is super connected to them, and he has seen the way that they communicate, the way that they care for their young children, the way that they talk to each other, the way that they have skin just like human. There's similarities of like how similar they are to us. Was pretty striking, actually. And how they take care of their sick, how they share resources, how they communicate. Like, I mean, it was a really fun book to go down the journey with this guy. But he spends all of his time with trees, and it was fun to have him tell the story. So my particular reflection of this book was we can all learn a lot from trees. So once again, like I said, sometimes this is what the fun of this journey is for me. Is it's books like this, where it's like so far out of left field, where you're like, you're bordering on a, one of those like hippies that like is a tree hugger, that everybody's like, man, this guy's crazy. He's talking about trees can talk and communicate and, share resources with each other. And you're like, this is what makes this journey fun. And I learned so much that I'm obviously already sharing with you guys about how amazing trees are. I swear to you, I can't look at trees the same at all anymore. Every time I like am on a run, or like, I'm like walking by a tree, I'm seeing the little fungi grow out of them or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that means they're getting old. It's, their skin's, breaking down just like our skin breaks down. And it's like, it's just a weird thing to think about. But I feel like we can learn a lot from trees though, because, they have mastered something that I feel like humans have not mastered. They somehow can survive for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of years. They don't need to go anywhere. They don't need to fight. They don't need to have tribalism or whatever it may be. Like they're able to exist where they are. They're able to exist harmoniously amongst the environment that they're in, and they're able to create a world where they can grow strong and big and support everything around them and their ecosystems around that I feel like we don't do a great job of personally. So I wrote in here, like, what's their big secret? They work together. They work together with all their surroundings. They work together with the fungi in the ground to communicate with each other. They work with all the other plants and animals in the forest. They work, even when they die, they have a purpose. They give back the nutrients to their future youngsters they've been shading over for a while, and giving them that extra exposure to light to go grow. So summing up on my end, I mean, sometimes humans, we can look around and shift our paradigms a little bit and learn from, like, I mean, guys, think about it. Trees have populated the world. They've scattered everywhere. They're here forever. They're not going anywhere. We cut them down all day long and they come back. Like, I mean, they're pretty amazing, resilient creatures, I guess. So, long story short, I feel like there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from trees. And number one is working together, and not always trying to, work separately and independently of each other. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you guys. Yeah. Have any crazy thoughts? Am I a weirdo for reading a book about trees?
I wouldn't say you're a weirdo. I mean, maybe you are a little bit, but I do think it's interesting. I think like the crazy thing, I don't know if it talked about this. Did it talk at all about like when there's like a forest fire and how trees like drop all their seeds so like they can be like regrow when they, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I didn't actually. I've never heard of that before.
I think it's like there's a forest fire, like it like somehow drops the seeds, and then so when it's burned out, like more trees will grow or some crazy thing like that.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, like these forest ecosystems are incredible. I mean, they are 100%. Everything is interconnected to each other. I mean, there are not a bunch of individual, creatures. As a matter of fact, like when you think of, you plant like one tree and you can get them the most light that they can get, like it's actually the worst thing for them. When you see just like individual, now when I see like individual little trees that are planted all by themselves, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like they can't communicate with each other to know when there's, a fungi that's spreading that's going to kill them, or they can't because their tentacles, their roots and their fungi systems that they use to relay information to each other can't talk to because they're too far away. So that's why trees are always, so huddled together and they talk to each other. But yeah, Blake, I mean, they're pretty incredible. They're really resilient. The question I asked was, what lessons are you missing out from all the things that surround you in your world every day? So not just trees, but I mean, we can talk about trees, but is there anything that you guys see every day where you're like, man, we could really learn a lot from these people or this creature or this plant, vegetable, whatever. I don't care, whatever it is.
Well, it sounds like the book made you think about like, oh, can we all work together? Like you have them both there, trees work together, and you feel like how can humans work together more? And I don't know. I think it's almost kind of a mistake, though, to use an analogy between like trees and humans, because I think humans are just completely different than trees.
I don't think so. That was my paradigm shift in this whole entire thing. I mean, if anything, they can live until they're 1,000 years old. We can't do that. But what would happen if we figured out a way to share enough resources together where we weren't always trying to just do it on our own? Who knows, right?
I think at its core, I think that's true of, they do basic functions of communication, but there's not like a conscious thinking, emotion, things like that trees don't have. Are trees sad?
Yeah.
Can trees imagine though? Can trees imagine a future?
Can they get mad?
I I don't know that that's out of the realm of possibility, guys. I mean, I really don't. Like, I mean,
I think they can react to environmental stimuli, but I don't know. One thing I think that, like, coming back to this book that I'm reading, is Stumbling on Happiness, and just like how humans have imagination, and that's kind of one of the things that sets us apart. And one of the things that maybe tear us apart and make us be so wasteful and cut down a forest, because whatever we imagine a golf course could go there instead. Right. But one thing I always love about trees and like can see their wisdom and wish that humans would sort of absorb their wisdom. It's just like how much like a rock they can be, like they just weather storms and they're just still there. So whenever I think of myself and like wanting to stand by my ideals and not flicker by people's emotions, or just kind of like, be able to take criticism or whatever, because they're not taking someone's attitude personally, just like being there, so, and then the tree can feel cold and everything and shiver, but it's still just going to be there. So that's kind of like, I guess, an analogy I like about trees for myself. And I'm wondering if Tree or Blake have like an analogy about trees that you like, or that Chris made you think of, that you've like connected with about trees.
Well, I think, trees are like any other species. I mean, they basically follow the evolution, whether that's be able to withstand some of the cold temperatures or hot temperatures. The trees that doesn't and couldn't survive dies off, and a tree that mutates into having barks and whatever to protect the trunk, it's going to survive. And to me, trees are like any other species, but they're not, to me, not like humans. I mean, there are some basic, yes. Trees do work together, so does human, and trees do actually, you know, compete with other trees. An example would be a pepper tree. You plant pepper trees, you put a bunch of pepper seeds down in a pot, only one tree will survive. And in because I do a lot of gardening, these are some things I've observed, but also when I plant trees, right, I would plant when the trees are small, I would plant them together, like so that they have a better chance of growing. And once they get bigger, I would cut the other tree so one of them will grow. But the point of planting trees together is because when you have trees together, they actually have a better chance of survival. So there are examples of where trees work together, and that's true. And there's also example of trees that compete in certain, for example, like weed will kill the grass. So that's competitive. And so to me, trees, it's a lot of times a species that we don't, observe closely just because they don't move. But, underneath them, they use a lot of, I guess, communications using fungi and whatnot. And so there is some amazing things that trees do, but at the same time, they're no match for humans, because we can cut them down by consciously and wanting to, with that conscience, we can do that. But trees, they don't kill us, on purpose. And so to me, yes, trees in a way similar, but there are a lot of ways different.
Agreed. I'm not saying they're the same as humans. I'm just saying my point was to learn, a lot of lessons from it. However, I will say, like, I mean, man, you think about like the whole the agricultural revolution, like did the wheat,
who domesticated who?
Right, exactly. Like I man, look around yourself when you're driving, next time you're on a country drive and snow. I know you live, in a more you're still living like in a rural setting, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes. Like, I mean, look, there's a lot more trees around there than there is people, yes. and you start to look around. I mean, there I bet you there's more. I mean, there has to be more trees in this world than people, right? I mean, just at a higher level, just from a sheer volume.
Depends on how you count them. Yes, if you count on grass, sure, absolutely. There's a lot of right. Depending on how you count individual, like single, there's more. But to me, it's still evolution, because the wheat, whether they domesticated us or we domesticated them, is basic on chances, because they randomly mutate, and a certain combination makes us rely on the wheat to survive, and we change our diet from meat diet to a more of a plant-based diet, just because it's allow us to be relying on it. But they didn't do it on purpose. It wasn't a purpose to it.
No, I don't think there was I don't think there was an intentional design behind any of this stuff. I mean, I'm fascinated by the way that this all just magically interconnects with each other, to form these incredible ecosystems of things that can, find ways to withstand pretty much anything for the most part. Yes, there are going to be times when they get beat down and they evolve and they adapt. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like, one of my core values personally is to don't do it, is to never do it alone. And that hasn't always been that way my entire life. I mean, a lot of times I've kind of always been like, I can be smarter than other people. I can work harder. I can do what I need to do to here's my goals. Here's my vision. Here's what I want to go accomplish. One of the big, paradigm shifts that I've had over this entire experience with the whole year of magical learning, and, since Amelia passed away, is, I told True this the first day that we met. Like, I don't want to do this alone. Like, I need somebody to do this with me, and I want to do it with other people. It's not worth, we're better together. I mean, right. I know
we're better with other human beings, just not with trees.
Yeah. And Chris, I think I like that. Maybe that's kind of even why you resonated with the trees, like working together. And like you talked about how one tree, it's like not going to be as healthy because it can't communicate. And it is a problem when you put yourself in a silo. And I think one thing I kind of realized, even for myself, I think actually in my life, like I almost kind of need to surround myself. I'm realizing it's better when I surround myself with more other people. I can be kind of introverted or be a solo person at times. Like this past weekend, actually, I did a 3-day fast.
Nice.
But I thought about, like I did it by myself. I didn't like asking my friends if they want to do it because I thought they might think it's weird or something. But I think it is important. I just admire that, Chris, how you can, reach out to people and be like, hey, yeah, no, I'm not going to do this alone. I don't want to. So I think that's really cool.
You can get really sick or really off track and not realize it when you're isolate yourself.
Yep.
And you're not, you might think you're on the right path, and you can get pretty far down the wrong path. You're not, around, other people. And your question was, you're asking if there's an analogy of these trees.
Yeah.
I feel like for some reason, I feel like trees know who they are. Again, they're steady. They are there through winter, through summer. They're kind of like stoic to me. It's like, I think of like a pillar of a family. I kind of see like a tree kind of in that sense of like stable, strong, durable, doesn't break down, stays strong. For some reason, I think of my grandpa who died for some reason, and how he was kind of like a pillar of the family. I see him being like a tree no matter what, if things were good or bad. He knew he was the same person. He wasn't, never angry at the world when things didn't go his way. I think it's kind of like trees. Trees are who they are. They know who they are, and that's who they are.
Yeah, I love that actually, because they talked a lot in the book about like the older trees. The ones that are on the top of the canopy. They on purpose shield the younger little trees that are growing below them from the light to support and nurture them. They share nutrients together. They nurture the shit out of them until the day that they die, and then they let them take the light and shine out from there. I mean, you're right. Like grandparents, man, I like there's just something about like they like kind of shield you from stuff, and they kind of they just feel like they're that spiritual guide over their little family, until the one day they do leave, and then you're on your own, and you're like, now I got to figure this shit out. I got to teach my kids that someday, and then I can teach my grandkids that someday. So that's a cool thought.
Because of them, all those trees below them are stronger, they're bigger, because they were there the whole time.
Yeah, they got a chance. Like they're not just on their own and tiny little guy all by themselves. I like it. Hey, and one thing, Snow, you said something really cool. I thought of, your fasting thing, like it's in an ironic way. Like, I mean, we have 4 people now on this conversation. I look at that as we're not doing this alone. That's the whole mission, right? Is to go have a good conversation, share with people. One person writing became 2, and True and I decided we want to talk about this every single night. Then we got Blake to come along every once in a while, and then now Snow's here, and who knows who we'll add next, right? Maybe we'll have just a whole little group discussion of these things as we go, and more trees to help support each other, kind of thing. It's kind of cool, right?
Certainly. Yep.
True. What do you got?
I'll like to be here Monday nights. I feel like it's my night,
Fair enough. What do you got, True? Any final thoughts here?
Well, I think, we gotta take, what we can learn from our environments and look from different perspectives and take inspirations where we can get them. And if trees can give us inspirations to better ourselves, then so be it. A lot of times we just are really focused on just what we see, and what we see is all there is, and that's the lesson we want to kind of like elucidate is that, what you see isn't all there is. There's many things, just like when you say, when you want something, the universe conspires to make it happen. It's because of things like these that you don't see, but they do exist. And so, be more open and looking from different perspective, whether that's trees or fungi, or whatever else, other people, whatever you can get to get a wider perspective, and that can give you a better opportunity, better chance. And working together is one of those things that we can help each other see our blind spots.
Love it.
I feel like we all think for some reason that we're the center of the universe, and it's amazing. Yeah, when you take a second to stop and just see what are all the things around us, systems that are around us, things that are going on that, yeah, we don't even see, don't pay attention to. We're so absorbed in what's going on with ourselves that, I mean, you can, I think it's, yeah, if you just stop and, you know, hear the wind blowing and the leaves and, you know, and see all the trees and, you know, just life around you, and kind of makes you feel like, you know, you feel huge and like you're in the center of the universe. Sometimes it's good, it's humbling to be like, some amazing stuff going on around me, and I'm not the center of the universe. And
that's a good point. They talk about just like I don't know, like going into nature and then coming out of nature. Sometimes the awe experiences you can get from it, and sort of this like spiritualness, like that you talk about when you realize that, like, wow, I am just a tiny, insignificant person, which nature can do, which I think that's, you know, why we can really enjoy trees or enjoy nature is we can be in our man-made environments here, and we feel like we have so much control, and I don't know, and sometimes it's hard for me even to put into words like what I get out of being in nature and being in trees and just being there, and whether listening to like the wind come through when you stand in like a forest, and but something does come over us. I think that we all feel that.
It gives me kind of a sense of peace for some reason.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's connectedness. I mean, it's a sense that, like, you know, Blake, when you're talking about being by yourself or something like that, like, you know, I don't know, like we do everything that we can these days, it seems like, to further distance ourselves from each other, you know, like, you know, with all the digital, you know, I guess, revolution of humanity, we think we're connecting with each other, but we're physically pushing ourselves further and further away. And like, yeah, I mean, it's just that connectedness. I feel like for me, when I'm either in nature or even having a conversation like this, or writing in the morning or whatever it may be, it's like, it's like True said, you know, opening your eyes to other things around you, and you know, feeling like you are, you know, you may be insignificant in the grand scheme of things, like Snow, like you were saying, but at the same time, you're an important, everybody has a role.
Yeah, you are insignificant, but you are part of something significant.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's that ecosystem of sort, like the universe. You are part of the universe, even though if you take yourself out by yourself, yes, it's insignificant, but without you, the universe won't be complete. Right. Because if like I say, $1 million, you have to count one penny at a time. If I take out one penny, well, you're not a millionaire, right? You're close to it. Or if you have a bag of grain, I took out one, right? It's less. You're not part of a bigger thing. So
it's not a heap. It's not a heap anymore, right?
It's not a
heap. We won't even get into that one. No, but those are all great thoughts, fellas.
Yeah.
I think anybody have any final thoughts, or are everybody good with wrapping up for today?
I think that's all she wrote.
Awesome. All right. So the question we can leave for everybody, you know, following along is, you know, what lessons might you be missing out from all the things that are surround you in your world every single day? And there's something to think about the connectedness of everybody, and, you know, you can learn from everyone. And we'll see you all tomorrow, and Snow next Monday.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see you.